tonight. At this time, we'll ask Commissioner Hollingsworth for the invocation and the pledge to the flag.
Let us pray. Lord, thank you for this day and thank you for all the things you've done for us. I want to pray for these commissioners that we make the right decisions up here for the people of Columbia County, and I know we will. I want to pray for the people in the Texas flood. I don't know that I've ever seen anything as bad as that around here. And I'd pray to God nothing like that ever happens here in Columbia County. I want to pray for all the people here today. I'm glad they're here to see this happen. And pray for the family of Mr. Guyby. He was a good fellow, and we all knew him, and he was just one of the happiest people you ever meet. In God's name, amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Staff, do we have any deletions for the agenda? Additions?
No, sir.
Move to approve agenda.
Got a motion to approve?
Second.
Got a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. All right, Mr. Gooden?
This is his last visit.
Oh, sure.
Oh, no, y'all, you don't know how to deal with Louis.
Good evening, Commissioners. How are y'all? The first public hearing that you have here is to consider a request for a special permit application, SP 250602, for an annual corn maze events by the Richardson family. I think it's off 242 down there in your district, Commissioner.
Okay. Board, anybody have any questions before we open the public hearing?
I'm just gonna add that they had this year. This is a repeat, same thing they done last year.
All right, at this time, I'll open the public hearing. Is anybody here to speak for or against this event? Not seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. What's your wishes of the board?
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. Thank you.
Okay, the second, the last public hearing here is a request for a minor subdivision off of Lassie Black Road, right there at the corner of Bison Court. This is a 16 plus or minus acre parcel that's been requested to be subdivided into 5 plus or minus acres each. It fits the zoning, density, everything's, it's on a paved road. It's been adequately advertised and noticed.
Newspaper and all that. Gotcha.
Mhm.
All right, board, Kevin, I know this is in, you have anything?
Yeah,
to
this
say?
is my area. I don't have it. You're ready for a motion? We got to go public.
Yeah, just seeing if anybody on the board had anything to say before we go public. Okay. Okay, at this time, I'll open up the public hearing on application SD 250602. Anybody here to speak for or against? Not seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. What's the wishes of the board?
I'll make a motion that we approve SD 250602.
Got a motion, did the second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. Thank you.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Thank you, Louis.
You go
Yes,
home
sir.
now.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll second.
Got a motion to approve the consent agenda. Got a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed.
Motion to adopt.
Got a motion to adopt.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This evening, as we discussed at the what do we call that? The emergency training session that we
Workshop.
had a few weeks, last week. For your consideration is request for an adoption hearing to set the ordinance for regulation of storm debris removal contractors. For those who remember the storm season last year, we had several issues relating to consumer complaints and issues with debris removal from the sides of the road, different sorts of misrepresentations that were being made to some of our constituents about how it works when we do disaster cleanup. And through that, you adopted an emergency ordinance. This is sort of the more full version of that ordinance that has some more requirements. What we're basically asking these contractors to do is register with the county, which is as simple as tell me who you are and how I can get a hold of you if I have complaints, and tell me who I need to send paperwork to if we decide we have to sue you. They get registered. Once they get registered, they have to let the constituent know that they're registered. and they have to let the constituent know that their bid must include storm debris removal. And then from there, the constituent knows how to complain to the county through that disclosure. And then we have the ability to reach out to them. And if we're having any sorts of issues during the state of emergency, we can hopefully get those straightened out much more easily than we did last year. The ordinance also says you're prohibited from doing that kind of work without a registration number, right? So it goes both ways. And then at the request of emergency management, I think this does make a lot of sense. We'd like for people to get their numbers in blue skies. Once we declare a state of emergency, we don't want to have the folks in emergency management having to pull themselves away to verify this information and issue permit numbers. We can do that on our administrative side, but in terms of the conventional system to get them in, we also have storm debris contractors of our own. So we feel like that'll be a good situation. Staff feels like they're going to be able to implement this pretty well. I think we've hit all the high points. I did ask all of you to take a look at it. I know Commissioner Parnell gave me some feedback, which I really appreciated. And I think I did get some feedback from Shane and emergency management that we incorporated some of that. I think Commissioner Murphy and I had a talk about it. So if there's any other questions, we're also going to have the adoption hearing 2 meetings from now. So anything between now and then you can also bring up.
So Joel, one question that it was brought to me yesterday. Now, the local contractors that I've already spoken to, of course, this is already out on the street, they're 100% in support of it, 100%. I've had nobody fight the point of reasoning here, but when that state of emergency does take place, and here they come, once the governor declares that state, where will these out-of-town contractors go to for that?
Well, so here's the issue. If they didn't get one in blue skies, they're not going to get one during that state of emergency, right? And so we're going to have that clearly indicated on our signage. That's going to be at every entry point into the county. I mean, every entry point. As you cross the county line, you're going to see a sign that says you cannot do storm debris removal without a registration number. Again, that's something that was recommended by staff, was to stop issuing registration numbers. We can leave that open if you guys want to. It's y'all's decision.
Because I had a contractor actually bring this scenario to me, and this was just yesterday evening, got my attention. He said, what if I have, a contractor out of Alachua County that I want to hire to help me? Because he said, I like it. He said, because it kind of protects our local investment. He said, but, I can almost assure you if we had something similar to what we had this past year, I could get overwhelmed pretty quick, And he said, I may just want to hire a contractor from Alachua, Duval, to do nothing but haul debris for me.
So you can bring in subs and they'll operate under your single registration number. So if you're a vendor, let's say I'm Tim's Tree Service, right, LLC, and I come in during blue skies and I get registration number 1. Well, if you do want to go get subs, they need to display your registration number, okay? Because that's how we're going to reach out to you when there's a complaint about that crew.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
So the example I was using with you the other day, there's a crew over on King, and hey, this crew's over here. They're dumping stuff in the right of way. They should be dumping. They're leaving. They've got registration number 1. Oh, well, that's Tim's Tree Service. We call Tim's Tree Service. They say, we don't have a crew over on King. We don't know what you're talking about. Well, now we'll dispatch the sheriff's office over there because they're operating with a falsified registration number. We'll charge them with a misdemeanor. We'll take care of it. What won't happen, hopefully, is by the time we find out there's even a problem, they're long gone. Right. So the idea here through registration is we know who you are. We know how to get a hold of you. One of the requirements is you have to give me a number that I can text, a number that I can call, and an email address that you check no less than once every 24 hours. So we will hit you every way we can when we get a complaint. So we're hoping that because that's worked with the noise ordinance. It works with our code enforcement. When we're able to make contact with people who there's complaints against, 99% of the time, guys, they just fix it. And we don't have to do all the lawyer stuff. We don't have to do lawsuits and all that kind of stuff, which is the objective of this setup. But also if they're indignant, if they fight with us or whatever, we'll have what we need to go after them.
So basically, if he's subbing under a registered contractor, he just needs to have that contract number on his truck.
That's right. Tim's Tree Service might have subbed out with Rocky's Tree Service. Well, Rocky's Tree Service needs to show Tim's registration number. I'm qualified.
And Tim will be responsible for
you. And that's also what the ordinance says. Even if you sub out work, you're responsible for it, right? So if I sub out Rocky and Rocky goes out there and does a really bad job, the county's going to hold Tim accountable. There's a bunch of debris left in that right of way. Shouldn't have been there, Tim. Oh, well, Rocky was supposed to do it. No, you're going to have to go take care of that now.
And so when, of course, Hambone came in and it got me thinking, so Hambone's company he can get, like other dumpster companies, he can get signed up and then, he can haul the stuff off for people or do whatever he does,
That's right.
But okay, that's good.
And you register once and it's good for the whole year, right? So you come in and say, Tim's Tree Service, I'd like to register to be a storm debris contractor. All we do is check your information. We're not permitting and we're not licensing. You're literally just registering with us to tell us that that's what you're going to be doing. And that's our opportunity to say, okay, here's our rules, follow our rules.
Gotcha.
And then that's all we're doing. We're not collecting money from these folks. They're going to get their registration. And that way we're not dealing with a bunch of strangers when the county's been torn apart. We know who we're dealing with. We know who to reach out to. We know how to fix the problems.
It's definitely the beginning and the start because it sure was terrible last time. So
Yeah.
I think anything we do is going to be beneficial.
And maybe those can guys can help us police it a little bit. Drive down the road and say, you got to pick that up.
And the only thing I would say for you to, when you're contacted by contractors, because you will be, please come register. It's not limited. We're not saying there's only going to be 10. If you think you're going to be doing this kind of work, go ahead and come down and register. Give us your contact information so we can get a hold of you and get on the list.
So I'll make a motion, we approve August 21st as the hearing date for this.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, got a motion, got a second that will adopt this hearing on August the 21st. And with that being said, board, in a previous conversation this week, we're gonna also this will be the day to adopt the guideline, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and so board, if you haven't already, make sure as staff asked the other day during the workshop, any input you have towards that guideline that Kevin prepared previously, we need to put our input on that too. So, okay, so I got a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, David.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try and make this as quick and painless as possible. And I appreciate Lisa Roberts for all the work she put into the assessments. She puts a lot of time and effort into it. So the first one we have is preliminary rate resolution 2025 R20, Carolyn Heights street lighting. Basically, there's no rate change. It's going to generate about $2,442. The rate is $74 per dwelling.
All right.
Move we approve the preliminary rate resolution number 2025 R20 for Carolyn Heights.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. Thank you.
Next one is preliminary rate resolution 2025 R-21, Emerald Lake Street Lighting MSBU. Basically, there's no rate change. It's going to generate about $8,978. It is $46.04 per dwelling unit.
I move we approve the rate resolution 2025 R21 for Emerald Lake subdivision.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed.
And as it says, they're preliminary rate resolutions. You will have another shot at these on the first public hearing in September. The next one's kind of different. It's interesting. It's Forest Cove Maintenance MSBU preliminary rate resolution 2025 R22. This is a brand new one. This is the initial assessment for Forest Cove. This is based on the ordinance that you adopted that when a subdivision wants to be built, we're going to set up an MSBU at the very, very beginning to cover the maintenance costs as they go on down the road. This one is for stormwater maintenance services, $2,800, and for roadway maintenance, $4,340. And again, this is the initial assessment for Forest Cove subdivision.
Okay, David, just if somebody in the crowd is reading this, on the agenda that's published out here, it says on here, initial rate resolution Forest Cove street lighting MSBU. Just for the clarification, that it's not for street lighting, correct?
That is correct. It's not for
Okay.
street lighting.
So just some typo. So 2025R-22 is for, as you stated, Forest Cove maintenance at MSBU, correct?
Right. It's
Okay.
both stormwater
Storm-
and roadway
And
maintenance.
roadway maintenance, okay.
And David, this is the way we're gonna do subdivisions in the future, right? I
That
mean,
is correct.
So there will be more of these coming in the
Mhm.
future. I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Okay.
The next one is preliminary rate resolution number 2025R-23 for Laurel Lake Street Lighting MSBU. It generates 4,149. It is not a rate change, so the rate will remain at $118.53 per dwelling unit.
Move we approve rate resolution 2025R-23 for Laurel Lake street lighting.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
The next one is preliminary rate resolution number 2025R-24 Pine Ridge Court MSBU. It also has no rate change. It will generate $2,072 for the capital improvement side of the project, and it'll generate $2,994 for the maintenance side of the project.
I move we approve preliminary rate resolution 2524 for Pine Ridge Court.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Preliminary rate resolution 2025R-25 Spring Hollow Street Lighting MSBU. Again, no rate change. We didn't propose any rate changes. This one will generate $2,109, and it works out to be $55.50 per dwelling unit.
Make a motion to approve 2025R-25.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Now we get to the fun stuff. And we do have the company that did the study here. Jeff, are you here? You want to, in case I have any questions for you. This is the preliminary rate resolution 2025R-27 Fire Protection Services. This is basically you're setting the maximum that you can set this year for fire protection services. It's based on a study that was presented to you a couple meetings ago. We anticipated generating $9,627,079 before you do the exemptions and the other fun stuff. It does not fully fund the operation because, as you know, EMS is something that cannot be funded through the assessment. Only those things that benefit the property can be charged through the assessment. And if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
And David, in previous discussion, we can set it at this higher rate, but as the workshops take place, it can be decreased, correct?
That is correct. Typically, the board usually tries to set it high and then annually increase it a little bit. So there's no sticker shock at any one time. It's just a gradual. And that's been your policy for the past couple of years.
What was it? I don't remember the rate before. What was it?
The rate before, I happen to have brought that with me. So we had set the maximum
Yeah.
rate before at 3 for the single residential family and mobile home at 301.90,
Okay.
but we adopted it at 293.98.
Okay.
And if you'd like to see the whole chart, I got it right here.
Nah. I believe you. Barely.
Jeff, is there anything at this time you'd like to add since the last time you've been here?
No, the only thing I would just remind the board of is the rates that you're adopting today are the rates that are going to go on the notices that are mailed to all property owners. Are also going to be published in the newspaper. So just so you know, you may not be adopting these rates at the final resolution this year. There could be some discussion. You can come down from there, can't go up, and that these rates that you see here will be on the notices sent to all property owners. Excuse me.
Thank you.
And if it does come to a time that you need something greater, then you have to go through the process again and have to re-notify all the property owners.
Okay. Any questions, board?
No, sir.
All right. Entertain a motion.
Motion we approve preliminary rate resolution 2025-27.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed.
So now we have the preliminary rate resolution 2025R28 for solid waste. Same sort of procedure with the fire department. The estimated revenue it'll generate is $4,423,905. We have proposed the rate of 210.15, which is not the highest it could have been, but we're proposing that as the maximum rate. You could have gone as high as 252.25, or you can go as high as 222.25 according to the study. But we propose the 210.15. So if at some point you want to go higher than that, you'd have to renotice all the property owners. That's about a $60,000 cost. But this would be the maximum, and again, you wouldn't have to go that high at time of actual adoption. Our current rate is 198.06.
So basically, we're going up $12.
Yes.
I'll make a motion, we approve, resolution number 2025 R-28.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed.
The next one is the Emergency Preparedness and Assistance Grant, EMPA. We do this every year. It funds half of emergency management. The amount is 105,806, which is pretty much what it's been every year as far as I can remember. There is an agreement attached, A0595, which we would ask you to execute as part of this agreement. And just to remind you, these grants run from July 1, which is the state fiscal year, rather than our fiscal year, which begins October 1.
Okay.
Approve that. I mean, we approve and execute the EMPA agreement.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. All right.
And then finally, the North Florida Water Utility Authority update and annual budget request. We're getting into the budget season. They're going to ask us for money. In fact, tonight is when they're going to basically tell us about what their budget is and what their request is. This is not saying anything other than you'll be directing us to put this into our submitted budget. You don't actually adopt the budget until September. And with that, I'll turn it over to Shannon to answer any questions. The Executive Director.
Shannon, appreciate you coming. I heard through the grapevine you sprained your ankle, broke your ankle or something?
I ruptured my Achilles tendon.
Oh, okay.
I snapped
Wow.
it in half. So
That's nice.
Well, so you must have got Franklin to drive you over here tonight, huh? I seen the escort sitting back there in the back.
Did he pick you up and put you in the car?
I'll take you home. I wouldn't recommend that trip back, okay?
yeah, I'm just trying to work through that, Chairman.
Thanks for taking the time to come.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to be here. What I wanted to do, for those of you that may not know this, the utility board met back on the 2nd of this month, and I took them through a review of the budget to outline how it was established, what was the thought process behind it, and gave some high-level overviews, and then set up a time for questions. If it's all right with the board, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to kind of take that same approach. Would that be okay?
Absolutely. It's in our package, but clarification to some that is not able to attend the meetings, I think it's a great time.
Okay, awesome. If you're looking at just the general budget sheet, the first thing you're going to notice is there's a stark contrast between the budget from last year and then the budget that we're proposing. And the primary difference is this: last year, there were really no staff on board. We had consultant work that was being done. But in the next fiscal year, the utility authority is proposing to begin operation of water and sewer plants in both counties. So in order to do that, I started on June the 9th. And then on July the 2nd, 23 days later, I had to propose a budget. So for me, the easiest approach to get a budget put together in 23 days was very simple. Let me go back and look at the actual expenses from the utilities of each county from 2024, the last completed fiscal year. Right now, I had data for it, but it's in flux. So with more of the year still to go, I really couldn't draw a lot of data from that. So I started with actual expenses from the end of September 2024, whatever those expenses were at that time. I snapped that off for 3 utility sites in Suwannee County and 4 for Columbia County. So I took those numbers and I said, all right, this is how much I'm going to propose to run the operations. We'll just repeat the operations of 2024, but we'll do it in this next budget year. The next thing I did is I went back to find the actual revenue. How much revenue was generated by those 7 different facilities at the end of 2024. So my next step was I know what the total revenue for the utilities were, and I knew what the total expenses were. So what I did is I subtracted the two. And that left me with some amount of funding that would be left over that was not covered by revenue. And that's what I converted into a request to each county to say, the utility wants to manage these 7 operations. It costs X. We only have Y. We're going to need additional funding. So if you take a look at your budget sheet under the revenue section, the first thing we're going to start with is this thing called intergovernmental revenue. That is the utility boards. That's how I reference my request to each county for funding. So what I'm asking for from each county is 526.48. And then below that, it totals that out. And then I'm going to add to that all of the utility revenue that we're anticipating will be generated. We take that number, we roll it down, we back out some of the revenue. We don't want to spend 100% of the revenue. So we back out a certain amount of that. We'll probably have cash from this year's budget that will not be spent, and we'll carry that forward. All that rolls into that number of 1.7 million. So that's the revenue side of the budget. On the expense side, it's going to look a little different than last year, because this year we have the expenses of plant and personnel that did not occur in the utilities last budget. So that's why this one looks different. And I broke the expenses down into 3 areas. One of them has to do with the actual utility operations and maintenance. Okay, actually running the plants. So what you see there is the personnel expense, and then one rolled up figure, that 823,000. That is all of the expense details for each plant. It's buying chemicals. It's any kind of tools we need. It's contractor expenses. It's professional services. So I just rolled it up into one number to make it simple. That's the first part of the expense budget. The second part of the expense budget will be the utility administration side. There are personnel who will be working there to manage the administration of the utility, HR, billing, accounts payable, receivable. All of that is going to be done in that section of the budget. So I wanted to differentiate the cost between what we're doing to operate, the expenses associated with that, and the expenses of administration. And then the last piece is a reserve component. As I contemplated what we would have to do for the next year, there's always the case that some unplanned expense would come up. So I put this budget together in 23 days. I can assure you, although I did my best and got very detailed and granular, I have probably missed something. Okay. So I needed some type of padding in the budget to where if I missed some expense, that I had some place to go, so I wouldn't have to go back to the county and just continue asking for money. So what I did there is I set a $200,000 contingency there. That contingency covers if maybe we need to buy something that we didn't anticipate. I have also asked, and we had this discussion during our board meeting, I asked each of the commissioners from both Swanee and Columbia side to talk to their respective boards and float the idea of what I'm calling a catastrophic contingency. So here's what I mean by that. I was asking to set aside money if we ran into a major expense. For instance, we lost a set of pumps in a lift station. Those could be $300,000 pumps. I don't have a $300,000 budget line to buy something like that, if it were to happen, so to speak. So by example, I was asking each of the each of the commissioners to consider if the boards would earmark funding, set it aside in your own county budget, but don't transfer it. Just keep it there as an earmark if we ran across some type of catastrophic situation where we had a major expense due to some major malfunction, across any of the systems. So that's what we talked about. That type of reserve or contingency, that's not going to be reflected in my budget. I'm just simply saying park $200,000 there. If I don't spend it, it all carries forward into the next budget. But if there are minor things, like for instance, if we had some type of an issue where maybe there was a sewage leak or we had some type of a fine, if DEP hits me with a $25,000 fine for something that occurred during the operations, that's where I would go to pay that type of thing. It's not something that we're going to use to buy things we need, because that's already defined in the details for each plant's expenses. These are going to be one-off. No one saw this coming, but we really got to have it. The other thing that I did there is you see the reserve expense there. And so basically, if you take a look, the total revenues and the total expenses, they balance. So the revenue coming from the county, each of their grants, so to speak, if you provide that, add that up, plus all the revenue we generate matches the expenses that we've outlined in the budget. So that was a whole lot of stuff. I'm just trying to give you the idea of we're proposing to run the operations of 7 things. And these are the expenses associated with it. This is a revenue thing we'll generate from it, but that's not going to be enough to actually get it done. So we're having to go to each county and make a request.
Shannon, if I could get you,
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Rob.
would you go over real quick how you come up with both counties putting about the same amount of money?
Sure. That's something that, and Mr. Ford, within the utility authority, what we've tried to talk about, and we didn't try, we've done it for more than a year, is we've talked about trying to use what the authority does, but do it in a way so that it is equitable, so that either county doesn't feel like they're in a position where they're contributing more and feel like they're getting less out of it. So here's what I did. To me, there's probably many different ways you can do this. I tried to be as very simple and straightforward as possible. I took a look at comparing what if we made each county's contribution based on just the proportion of expense. Well, if you have not a lot of expense, if your expense is lower, you don't contribute as much. But if your expense is really high, you contribute a lot. Well, is that really fair? Well, it may be. It just depends on how you look at it. So then I said, well, let me invert that. Let me flip that model around and say, well, what about all the revenue that I bring in? Well, I took a look at that. And so if you look at the expense proportion, Columbia County would be responsible for 74% of the funding that would be needed to run the utility authority of the money we don't have. And Columbia and Suwannee would be at 23. So then let me flip it around and go to revenue. On the revenue side, the Columbia County generates far more revenue than Suwannee. So if you just focus on expense, well, what if someone says, but my county generates the most of the revenue? That's not fair. We need to account for revenue. So be that as it may, here's what I did. I said, okay, we're not going to use either one of those. What we're going to do is we're going to go back and look at the expenses and revenue from the end of 2024 for both counties. And we're simply going to find out what is the difference. Both counties had more expense than revenue. Okay, so they're both in the exact same position, but there's a little variation there. So what I did is just measure that difference. If they're both upside down economically in terms of revenue and expense, Well, what's that difference? That difference was this. Columbia County had a 48% number and Suwannee had 52. There was a 4% difference when you look at straight revenue and expense and see what the gap was. So what I selected, I thought would be the most appropriate way, since we were so close to 50-50, I had proposed to my board to just say, all right, let's not quarrel about I've got more revenue or I've got more expense. Let's look at the fact that both are, they're not functioning where they need to be. Let's just look at the difference of that and we'll split it in the middle. So that's how I got to that 520 number. I simply took, we didn't have enough, we didn't make enough revenue to cover our expenses. So whatever that difference was, I just split it in half. And that became the 520, 648 for each county. I was just trying to keep the peace. Now, it's not elegant, it's simple, but it's kind of straightforward. And what I was trying to do is just try to be equitable and fair to the best we can for each county.
And I think when we sat there and discussed that, Shannon, it was kind of a surprise to us that sit on the board, that the numbers were so close to that point. I think at this point in time, when you're at this infancy, I think it's an equitable way to come up with that figure, And
Right.
I think it surprised me and Rocky just as much as it did the commissioners from Swanee. So it's,
Yes.
Same.
But
fair.
I do agree with the way you've done it. I looked at your plan and, it works out, and basically that's the information we have right now that we
Yes,
can
sir.
work off of.
Yes, sir.
And we know that's good information.
What I think, if I put, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell anyone what's going to happen in the future. So what I think the utility authority is going to have to do, adopt the budget, which the interim budget was adopted, work it, do the work, understand what happens, see where there are gaps, overages, and then when we prepare the budget for the next year, we'll be able, hopefully we'll have more information about what we really did, what we really saw, the real metrics, and then we can begin to recalibrate that budget. The other thing I'm hoping that will happen this year is, I know Suwannee County had some billing issues. So that created a revenue shortfall for them. I'm going to approach Suwannee County about potentially making some changes to address those revenue shortfalls. And I think if we can, as the utility authority will run the billing, I think if we fix those billing issues, we've got an opportunity to see revenue come up. The greater the revenue for the utility authority, the less funding is going to be requested from the counties. So I want to see how we operate. I want to see what our expenses are, and then make a better plan for next year that's going to give us tighter alignment based on facts and data versus me pulling something together in 23 days based on data that's a year old. It's not scientific, but it's the best, I think. It was a very good step toward creating a detailed budget for us.
And Joel, if I may, upon the request, of course, we'll deal with that at budget. Yourself and Grady and, I'm sorry, I don't know the other attorney's name.
Adam.
Adam and Grady will be working together on the MOU as to what the responsibilities are thereafter with the counties and what have you, correct?
That's right. We're kind of working out some of the concepts right now. I think Shannon probably knows the concept is sort of to allow the authority to step into our shoes and sort of be the utility for at least the next 12 months, starting on October 1st. And then we'll all sort of be looking over their shoulders, seeing how everything's going, making sure everything's going well. Like Shannon said, work the budget, see how everything's working out. Hopefully by the end of the year, everything's working well and we can go into a more permanent situation rather than the interlocal agreement. I think everybody believes, with all the uncertainty, the interlocal agreement, those can be unwound. We can do clawbacks and things like that. So, we're working on that now. I'd hope to have that for you guys to review shortly. Didn't unfortunately have time to get it together for tonight.
Sure.
But, we are working on that. The objective, if I understand it correctly, continues to be to have Shannon be in the utility business on October 1st. Is that what you understand too? Not fully, but as much as you can be.
As much as I can understand it, yes.
Yeah. And just to make sure everybody understands, we're going to have our inventory, all of our utilities inventory. We have some items in our inventory that don't make money. You know, they don't generate revenue yet, or they maybe sometime before they do. Shannon probably doesn't want that right now, right? Like it's going to present a challenge for them. So, but we want that decision to come from the utility authority to us.
And my take of it is simply, and I said, we kind of had a discussion of this as a board, but when I say board, a utility board, you know, as this MOU takes place on Swanee and Columbia side, you know, there may be variations, if you want to call them, come up to where this 520 ask may go up, you know, so it's a good start, I think, 100%. And, you know, it's we'll just see where the negotiation, I shouldn't say negotiate, the agreements go from that point. And I think we kind of all realize that, you know. And
Yes, sir. To your point, Mr. Chairman, I tried to create a conservative budget. I didn't start with budgets from last year because budgets are typically kind of more than you need. They have padding in them. I went below that down to the actual level. And there were a lot of areas what was proposed to be spent didn't get spent. So in that regard, and we talked about this in our meeting, in that regard, I may have been a little too conservative. And that's why I built that contingency in there, because I know I was really trying to be aggressive on our cost. And there might be some things where I was too conservative. And if we encounter those, you know, we'll use our contingency. And if it's bigger than the contingency, then maybe we have to go back and make some other requests.
The one thing I'd definitely like to, on this catastrophic percentage, or I shouldn't say, the catastrophic dollar set aside, we all understand we've been in that situation before, but, you know, each board, once we get into our budget process, we'll see what's available to be able to, you know, but the idea of setting it in a separate line item for that catastrophic situation possibly is a good idea. You know, it stays in both, you know, because that'll be an MOU and,
Right. And then from my perspective, that funding doesn't need to go to the utility authority because you don't need it till you need it.
Right.
But I don't need it if you have it and we've discussed it in advance about how we would use it. You know, and I think that's a better approach.
well, with all the preemptions and what have you that we're faced with each legislative session, you know, our budgets, you know, if our budgets were easy, we just roll them over each year. But we all realize if you're in this for any time at all, you can't do that. So it's
And we all know that catastrophic failure could happen no matter what.
Oh,
You know, no
absolutely.
matter if we're in control or you're in control, you can't plan for every catastrophic event. You just can't plan for it. So. And hopefully we don't have any, because everything we have is fairly new. Swanee County and Columbia County right now.
there's a bunch of cars there at
Yeah.
the place. It was bought a couple months ago. I'm going to use that. But
And
anyway, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to confirm, we talked about this the other day. This is really just an informational item
Yes.
for the board, right? Okay, I thought that was right.
So do we need to make a motion to approve?
No, sir.
It says recommended motion, approve amount to be budgeted for the North Florida Water Utility Authority.
I think what y'all would do, if you want to do any kind of a motion, just would be to direct David to incorporate this into his proposed floor budgets
Right.
when we go into budget season. So you're not actually approving any amount. You're just telling your county manager as your budget officer that you do want to see it in there. But I think you can do that by consensus too,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
You're using that, David, as you spoke of Tuesday, Monday, that's for your floor budget. That gives you something to start working with, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That is, if the board's comfortable with that, we would plug that into the floor budget. One other item I'd like to bring up, if it's okay. As you remember, the authority asked for a legislative appropriation for improvements on our Ellisville wastewater treatment plant. And so there may come, this is something we'll address in the contracts, how we handle the administration of that grant. That is an authority grant, but affects our
Infrastructure.
assets and, you know, cash flow. I mean, you know, they don't have the cash flow.
So basically, you want to talk about what Grady recommended for that, or is that something we want to discuss in this meeting, or
Well, I
with
just
the
received.
with the interlocal agreement with the county on dispersing the grant money? Or?
I just received copies of his proposal today,
I did too.
so I have not really had a chance to read it. If you know more about, if you've read it already, you can. But
I have read
I
it,
haven't
but I'll
read it.
let you talk about it. So
I haven't read it, so I don't know.
yeah. So basically the way I understand it is we do all the groundwork as the utility, but any money that we have to front to get reimbursed back, the county would front that money for the grant and then get reimbursed for it. But we do all the legwork as far as administering the grant and
Assuming it's
work
like-
and bidding out the work and stuff.
I'm assuming it's like the scrap cop and SIGP grants we
It
do
is
for Fort
sort
White.
of like what we do for Fort White, exactly how it's set up. Yeah.
And of course, that, you'll share that with us during budget process. You know,
Absolutely.
what the percentage of prop up is, we call it. And then, of course, Joe will probably have a sub agreement on that pertaining to what Grady's saying. And just for the audience record, Grady, help me out, what's his last name?
Williams.
Grady Williams is the attorney that
That's Bill's
represents the, you just can't shake them Williams guys.
Can't get away
man.
from them Williams.
That family tree goes a long way. But he's the attorney that represents.
It's
the,
not Dale's brother. I'll just
Yeah,
check.
yeah. But consensusly,
When somebody's been around that long, you can't help it.
I'm fine with the consensus of sending it forth and see where it comes to the floor budget and go from there. Myself, I'm speaking for myself, so if any board members have any questions relevant to that.
I would just like to say, I appreciate again, y'all working with the utility. And I think we covered a lot of ground over the last 2 or 3 months, and hopefully we're about to the top of that hill, fix to start down the other side. So, I think we're coming along pretty good. So.
Y'all have anything more?
There's a lot of details that we still work through. We've already worked through the personnel issues and insurance coverages and who's going to transfer and that kind of stuff. So it's
That's
just
why
working
we
through the
paid Joel
details.
$25 an hour, so he's right there with it. But
So we're working through all the details. There are details that we have to kind of get done to enable us to be at a point in October where they're running and operating our utility.
Okay, Shannon, appreciate it. You can have a seat. Mr.
Thank you, sir.
Loper, I've got a card here. Mr. Loper would like to speak on this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just got a couple of things on this. And being we're talking about this in generalizations and not real specifics, just to advise this board, there's no business plan, no rate study, no experience, and no evaluation of assets, just to name a few things that this utility authority does not have. Basically, some sort of dream that they got residents spending a lot of money. The budget document here, which should be up there, it's not, which you've approved by consensus this evening, shows $1.7 million in revenue, but it doesn't show where the revenue comes from. So,
It don't show one.
but it doesn't show where the revenue comes from. And that should show that. I mean, you approved this by consensus, but I don't know that anybody knows where this revenue is coming from.
Just to be clear, they haven't approved anything. They told him to include it in the floor budget
Right,
for approval.
there was consensus mentioned a half a dozen times, so.
Mr. Chair?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Let Stu
Okay.
talk. We'll send him home and then we'll.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Time's counting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. $155,000 for contractual services. I don't know what that is, being that you're already paying 260, well, in round numbers, $264,000 in salaries. So now you've got this gigantic contractual services. Nobody knows what that's for tonight either by this consensus. The devil in the room is, and I don't know where your revenue comes from, and neither does anybody on the board right now, I don't think. I don't think you do, Mr. Murphy. I don't know that Mr. Ford does. There's nothing, no information. There was no backup information provided to the county with this. So the public doesn't have a clue. But the devil in the room is Fort White, which nobody can decide what to do. what I would respectfully suggest this board do, because Fort White's the only one that's really generating any revenue, is take a look at the Fort White Charter. You just can't take over Fort White. The Fort White Charter says that the voters have to approve the takeover of Fort White. I'm sure Mr. Ford is well aware of that. If he's not, he's well aware of it now. You folks need to go back and read the Charter of Fort White. Fort White seems to be the only political subdivision that spoke about in all this nonsense that really has a customer base. And right now, that customer base is not available to this board or to the North Florida utility, which I see you have the brain trust of Suwannee County here tonight, which is nice. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Is anybody worthy of written response? If you don't, you ain't gonna make me mad.
I mean, sure. All I was going to say is I think Mr. Roberts spoke that the revenues are basically the revenues the utilities, both utilities are currently receiving. So obviously, both utilities are selling water and sewer. Both utilities are billing. Both utilities are generating revenues. That's the revenues that Mr. Roberts referred to.
All right, we're clear on that. Okay, open public comments. Anybody here to speak for anything else? Come on up, Mr. Lockhart, for another 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I was going to bring this up during the last session, but I waited. Columbia County, what you don't see up there, the utility authority budget, is a budget that Columbia County's been using for, I don't know, 30 years, 40 years. It may have been a budget that was devised years ago by then North Florida legend Dale Williams and Richard Powell of Powell and Jones. But after some research, that budget is not required to look like that by the state. And I looked at other counties that do budgets. They do budget books. They put in everything that I mentioned that could have been in the budget that Shannon Roberts presented this board tonight, yet nothing was there. You guys are stuck in the past with a budget that had to be designed, I guess, over 30 years ago, maybe longer. Not many people use that form of budget anymore. And if you look in Suwannee County's website, even though they're 2 years behind in budgets, which is what I found last night, and don't post their approved budgets, they post a tentative budget, was the one I looked at this morning, at least they give you a bit more of information than the people in Columbia County get. So I think this board needs to look in getting up to speed. It's 2025 now, of getting a budget that people do in 2025. Maybe look at successful counties and successful utilities and see what kind of budgets they present to the people and the supporting information behind it. My final thing is this. I stopped by the Supervisor of Elections building this evening. As we all should know, CareerSource is a mess, but it's in that building, right? It's in the Supervisor Election Building. I think you all know that. They've taken the Economic Development Office and are using that for some sort of stuff. But there's no sign in front of the building that shows that CareerSource is there. There's no sign on the door that shows CareerSource is there. There's no sign on the gigantic sign that shows CareerSource is there. The people that use CareerSource are on the balls of their ass. They're not fortunate like you guys getting paid 70 grand plus salaries to be a county commissioner. They need jobs and need benefits. Yet they come to Columbia County and there's no even indication that they're there. And I think you guys need to look into that and correct the situation. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anybody else speak? Ms. Bradley?
Would you like to say anything? We'd love for you to.
All right. Not seeing no more staff. Yeah, staff comments.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure if we feel like this is time sensitive, but I did want the board to be aware. Quite a while back, we recognized the fact that we had a problem with bad dogs and whatnot. So we went into the animal enforcement business. And I think everybody will agree, since that began, our phones quit ringing and that worked well. We simply put our partners on the other side have changed the business model. So when we started that, if you'll recall, we constructed 8 kennels designed for nights, weekends, and holidays. We never were in the retainage of animals business. We simply captured them, turned them over to the Humane Society. Based on the new business model, it kind of spilled over today to the point that our director said, I don't know what to do. Our kennels are full and they don't have any room, and we don't either. And it's simply put because they changed the business model, which is their prerogative. But at some point, your phone's going to start ringing back pretty fast. We can't pick up animals.
Well, I, for one, I'm only speaking for Tim Murphy, District 5. My phone quit ringing on dog issues and cat
Yes.
issues whenever we took over the enforcement part of it, thank the good Lord.
I actually had people call and say it was working good.
Working
You don't
better, yeah.
usually have that. So it sounds like we'll have to change our business model.
Joel, my opinion is, upon what Mr. Kirby just said, I ran into Tom the other day. He was kind of stressed, but and I can see that, Tom being our animal enforcement director, right? Yeah, I think that's his title. But I would say that with them changing their business model, and I say them, the Humane Society, Joe, if you had an opportunity, if you've been asked to look at, are we following the contract, breaching the contract, where are we at?
So, yeah, I spoke to Kevin this afternoon about this, as he indicated the directors kind of come up and said, I don't know what to do. So I like to use analogies. You can imagine if the sheriff was out there saying, oh, I got all these bad people, but I got no jail to put them in, right? Tom and his people aren't going to be able to do their job if there's nowhere to put the dog, okay? And we obviously need Tom to continue to do his job. He's been doing a great job, as Kevin indicated.
Amazing.
When we first did this, and some of you guys who were here remember this, we knew this was an issue, right? It's why we built the extra kennels. It's why we've tried to work as a good partner. And as Kevin indicated, it's the Humane Society's prerogative to have the business model they have. We've never tried to discourage them from being what they are, right? That they are the Humane Society. That doesn't change the fact that we now have a need. No different than you need a new piece of equipment. You need all these other things. For us to legally do our job, we have to hold that dog for a period of at least 3 days. We try to hold them for at least a week for the statute to kick in that allows us to do whatever we need to do with the dog, send it to another facility, whatever. But we got to have those days. If we've got nowhere to put them, we can't pick up a dog because we can't comply with the law. So I'm going to be sitting down based on the conversation I had with Kevin this afternoon, based on this discussion right now. I am going to be sitting down with the contract to look at what we can do. I think what the board's probably going to have to start wrestling with is, does the county need an impoundment facility, right? We're not talking about the Taj Mahal. We're talking about a place where dogs can be kept for 3 to 7 days with the minimum level of care that's required to make sure that we're complying with the law, because we have a public safety issue we have to deal with. And that's beyond contract, right? That has nothing to do with the contract with the Humane Society. It's the duty of the public for animal enforcement. So we're going to try to do everything we can to address the issues contractually, like you said, Commissioner Murphy. I don't know that the solution is going to get us where we need to go, though. And that's just based on the last few years of experience we all had. Again, I want to be very clear. No one is begrudging the Humane Society to do whatever it is they feel like they need to do right by animals. We get that. Our concern is just different than theirs at this point. And we may have to part company and do business separately.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah,
we can't continue to fund the animal shelter and fund our own animal shelter also.
Yeah, we had divided the funding.
That's the elephant in the room. What we've got to do our own thing, or either they've got to do what they said they would do.
And that's what I'm kind of easing into is if you only have so much money to spend, and you know legally to be able to continue to do enforcement, you have to have somewhere to put dogs. You may have to spend money to create a place to put dogs. I mean, it's not that complicated.
It's just a fact of life, and it's a tough fact, but it's just a fact. In every county in the state,
Everything.
every county in the
does.
state has this to deal with.
Alachua County has a pound facility out there by the airport. Now, nobody talks about that, but they do have an impoundment facility. And you know, Alachua County, they love to talk about their no kill and all that kind of stuff, and that's great. Doesn't mean they don't have the pound. Right?
And remember what brought us here, guys? Lady getting her calf muscle ripped out, 70-something-year-old woman, and kids couldn't get on the bus because dogs gonna eat them. We're not going there again.
No.
If I have to go out and do dog enforcement, you know, we're just not gonna have children scared to get on the bus and bad dogs. We're just not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna.
You know, here's my thing. I think there's a limit to what our constituents are willing to pay to keep all these dogs.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, at some point, it's just fact of life. You're not gonna save every dog. I mean, it's just, or every cat. I mean, it's just, as much as we all love our animals, I mean, how much can you spend? You know, it's just.
Well, it's just,
It's a
there's
tough.
not a doubt the animals around mine and my daughter and my son's house, they get treated better than
Yeah.
a lot of people.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got cats and dogs. I mean, we love our animals, but I mean, you just cannot provide for every dog and cat out there.
And like everybody says, it's not the dog's fault. It's not.
No.
Not the animal's fault. It's the human being that owns them or put them in the street or threw them out or whatever. I mean, we got that road y'all were telling me about when we started this out in Suwannee County where it's like a drop off point. For animals.
Come over there-
Right on the edge of Suwannee and
come over
Columbia
there by my
County.
old shop. Or the back of Sonny's barbecue.
So it's just this is one of those issues that is one of the toughest issues is you want every dog to have a wonderful life. It's just the way it is in this world today.
Well, Joel, I know you don't need direction, but I the sooner the better because could definitely become a
Yeah.
major impact to the budget. So we need to be able to deal with that.
And
As Kevin indicated, I think prior to this afternoon, we knew it was out there, but we didn't realize it was quite this time sensitive. But again, based on Tom calling his supervisor and saying, I don't know what to do. You can't hear that from your animal enforcement director. So we're going to get a solution.
Well,
and he is in an impasse.
yeah.
You got nowhere. It's like telling him to drive somewhere and he ain't got no car.
Mhm.
I mean, he just can't do it. You know, it just and the man does a great job. I mean, he does a great
Him
job.
and his staff has been in the 8.5 years I've been here.
Great
it's
staff.
Great.
As long as we're handing out praise,
Yeah.
one of the best things. this
Probably
board's
one of the
done
best.
is put that.
Kirby
Kirby
was right. It's about like our road department. He set it up like the road department, and it's like I mean, it gets done, and it gets done quickly. And I just don't want to. I don't in this interim, and when we get this done, I don't want some dog that we call to get picked up go by some child. And if that happens, I'm not going. I don't know what I'm on. You know what I mean? I know what it's like to see a child dog bit. Dog control.
Okay. Anything else, board members?
I have one thing. I understand there was a meeting with Suwannee County about maybe landfill. I was just wondering if we could get an update to the board of what that discussion was about and what was decided in that meeting.
Yeah, so it was a good meeting. For those who maybe don't know, Swanee's up against it on their garbage, right? They got to renew their contract. Their garbage gets hauled. So they bring it to a site, they compact it, they put it back on a truck, they send it up into Georgia. That may go away. So Suwannee had broached the subject, perhaps with some of you, but it got back to us that they were going to come and ask, can we dump in Columbia County? And that's always been a sticky issue. So we said, look, y'all come over, we'll brief you on everything. And we did. We brought Kevin in, we brought the engineer in. I think David was there, I was there, and they brought some of their staff over and we did a full briefing. Where we are right now is Kevin's running numbers. Locklear, our engineer, is also Suwannee County's engineer, running numbers versus if they extended their contract or renewed their contract versus doing something with us. we don't have a problem with waste, at least in terms of capacity. We got some other issues for about 10 years, if everything goes the way we think we're going to go. And then beyond that, we might be able to go another 40 years, right? With projected Columbia County capacities and how much room we've got in the landfill. So we're in pretty good shape. So that's why the whole approach has to be very careful, because we don't want to put Columbia County behind where we've earned our position, for the last 30 or 40 years. So it's going to be a delicate process. We're going to make sure that Suwannee County is fully informed and briefed on everything that can and might not go wrong. Commissioner Parnell, this is your district. So, and there's a lot of sensitivity up there. So we're not blind to that either. Man, we told them straight up, politically, the constituency up there has been promised certain things, and we need to make sure that that's being looked out for. So it was a very good meeting in terms of all the information was laid on the table. The Suwannee County was extremely appreciative. And actually, we kind of gave them a week's head start, because we went ahead and started the next day getting information together for them. They were planning to come here and ask tonight. So we got them a week's head start on getting their information together. But yeah, it was left in a good place. No promises were made. No guarantees were given. It was just, here's all the information. We'll get you some more information. And then again, they have the same engineer we do, landfill engineer. So he's going to be kind of a conduit to keep them informed.
And with that landfill, it's so sensitive, because remember, what was it, Kevin, a couple of years ago, we were good for however many years, and all of a sudden new rules pop up. It's like
we just
everything from the state and federal government. You got a good thing going. You think you got 30 years of usage, and all of a sudden they pop up with some new rule that puts everything in a tizzy, and then you got to figure out how to. So those landfills are, man.
I just say, I know the county has got revenues involved in getting all that set up and getting everything in place to start the landfill. It's an enterprise fund now, so it stands on its own, but it had to get started at some point. And I know the county had an investment in getting it started.
So we talked about,
paid that.
I mean, Commissioner Ford, one of the things we talked about is, if we were going to move forward, where would the next landfill be? Right. So because ours only has so much room. And the word we heard at our utilities workshop that we did out at the college was regionalization. That's what Tallahassee's looking for.
Right.
And Suwannee County told us that they'd had an opportunity to join a regional landfill authority. What do they call it? District. And backed out at the last minute 30 years ago. Right. So, and so they're kind of sitting there saying, we should have done it back then, but maybe we'll do it now.
Yeah, I think all of them agree that the board, that past board that made that decision probably made the wrong decision, but
again, we're going to project forward. Right. If we do find an opportunity to go forward with something collaborative, we're going to have our eyes down the road, right? 30, 40 years down the road, we have to have a next step.
I know, talking to Hamlin, some of the commissioners at Hamlin County, they're facing the same kind of same issue. So,
and definitely no resource to be able to fund so the regionalization, as you were speaking of at the conference we had, it's a good, that's what we're here for, to plan for the future way out.
And then just, and excuse me.
No, you.
And then just like all of a sudden we got to buy dirt now, or we got a dirt thing worked out, but we had dirt be given to us, and that was I think around $1 million hit or something, Kevin.
It's a moving target.
2 million. So it just it's like a tumbleweed.
So are they going to reach out and try to join a regional area, or was the first option just to come to us and ask us to be in landfill?
It would obviously be easiest, right, from their perspective. Look, here's how much we need to pay per ton to justify you taking our waste. Let us just dump there. There's a bunch of hurdles between here and there for us.
Yeah. Oh yeah, gotta be.
Bunch of hurdles. You have a bunch of hurdles, but we do too, right? On the operation side and administration side, to be able to accomplish that with permitting, with the changes in the useful life of the landfill, with our projections, our waste assessment is based on the projected life of the landfill, how much money we have to collect per year over a certain period of time based on our engineers' projections for useful life. If you add another county to that, let's say you have 10 years of useful life, you drop down to 7 years of useful life. Well, those numbers we calculated for our assessment may not be sufficient now to expand at the end of 7 years versus at the end of 10 years. that's not even talking about permitting, which Kevin will tell you, permitting is like it's like a circus. I mean, you think you've got it figured and they go, oh, but what about this? And it's DEP and you're dealing with a bunch of different, one of the first things I did when I became the county attorney was work some agreement up with DEP about the landfill. I think the liner was being replaced or something. It's incredibly complex. So, you know, the easy solution from everybody's perspective, hey, just let us dump there. There's just a lot that we have to get through. And that's what I said about the meeting last week. We went ahead and started the process of investigating those issues last week rather than wait till this week.
Right. It might be easy, but easy ain't always good.
There you go.
Easy will get you in trouble real fast.
So
We got to take care of home base before we entertain company.
That's
I mean, that's
We
just
are-
what it is.
We
and
are
that's the
proceeding
whole
with
thing.
extreme
We're trying
caution.
to
And I'm
figure
not
out.
saying it's completely ruled out, but you don't take care of home, you're in trouble. And this is home.
Commissioner, you're right on spot. I mean, that's exactly what we discussed.
Well, the thing I appreciate what y'all did is, you know, the fact that, and nothing that Swanee County was doing wrong. I mean, you know, I don't blame them. I'd be looking for every avenue.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, it was discussed upon that, you know, they've got other avenues to reach out and go to the curbside kind of thing, because, you know, we could simply, you don't want to quote overreact, you know, and as an example, overreacting without the proper due diligence and research is just like what went on today. I started getting calls this morning, yesterday at, you know, 6:45.
Mhm.
Why y'all giving land away? You know, I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about? You know, so it's, and I sat in today on the economic development meeting, and the advisory board handled it great. And, but you know, due diligence not done properly up front is what gets, can you imagine this chaos, you know, so. Yeah.
I think
But Kevin, I'm sorry.
everybody else knew about it before we did.
And
The
I wanna
newspaper,
say-
we find out how the newspapers contact us because they know everything.
Kevin, go ahead. I'm sorry, Joe.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, let me give you a 10,000-foot overview about the landfill. I'm gonna use rough numbers. Right now, you're in position to expand and be open in 2027 with your new Class 3. And you are whole, but you only have a couple $100,000 left over in the escrow when you finish that up. Today, after you pay the bills, pay the help, do all that good stuff, you're about 450,000 to the positive in today's money. Ironically enough, we put, not even considering Swanee County at this point, we put a 3% annual escalators. That's what's been running on tonnage. You're ironically going to have to expand Class 1 and the new Class 3 be open in 2037, be designing and funding and all that stuff in 2035. So in a 10-year time frame, I just said 450,000 in today's money, that's $4.5 million. We know that's a conservative number because help's gonna go up, the equipment's gonna go up. So that's a low number. In today's money, the expansion for Class 1, Class 3 in 2035, 2036, to be open in 2037, in today's money is $19.8 million. Okay? So that shows you a $15 million shortfall in today's money. So the reason it's complex at this current time, I've got a 28-page PowerPoint ready to explain all this. And it's any business model. You can start adjusting it slowly. You can kick the can down. I call it like a balloon payment, but that payment's coming. And that's why it was such an awkward time when I saw this prepared to go on the agenda. Nobody's fault. I was in the guts of preparing a 28-page PowerPoint. So I'm sitting there going, there is no way in the world. And that was the purpose of the in-house meeting. And I explained that to Swanee County is this is a lot of moving parts right now. And when I got hit with, what about that? I don't, kind of like Shannon was indicating, I'm trying to figure it out myself right now. You know, we got, Robbie, you indicated a while ago, I never heard of having a grout until 3 months ago. $2 million problem, $2+ million problem. I think I've got the sand worked out, maybe. But that was a $2 million problem. Now, worst case scenario, we have the money to expand now, ready for 2027. So we're good. So I can sit here and not say a word. About 12 years from now, somebody have a major problem if we don't start adjusting today. And that's where this board's got a lot of choices to make here in the immediate future before we talk. Because Mr. John Lochner and I, we're working together, considering Swanee County. We got the numbers and all. But when I roll in here, I just didn't want to mess everything up with those resolutions. when I roll in here and say, okay, guys, where do we want to do it? Do we want to treat class 3 like class 1? Do we want to separate, make sure the contract holders bear that cost and the homeowners don't bear the cost of class 3? Do you want to adjust over here? Do you want to adjust over here? Do you want to adjust your solid waste assessment to the max? It's a number. It's a benchmark you got to hit. How you get there? A lot of ways to get there.
And you know, I heard some people that heard about this that do a lot of commercial movement in there. And they said, well, they're going to have to put another ramp in. And I know that might be another thing. You know, I don't know how long. I never had to wait there because I don't go there. But I guess some of the commercial guys do have to.
Well, I think there's just, as Joe indicated, there's so many questions. So we got what we call a flow control, right? So on the class 3 side of things, folks can't haul in here other than us. Now, as I told Swanee County, they have 2 private landfills to take care of their C&D material. It's my understanding what to re-permit those in about 2 years. But if they experience the same thing that we're experiencing, I'm assuming they will, they have to permit through FTP. I look at the revenues they bring in. I cannot imagine a private owner spending $9 million when we're only generating like 1.7 a year, on our class 3. So any businessman in the world is willing to put $9 million and only get back $2 million a year.
Would you explain why class 3 is so expensive now versus
Sure.
what it used to be?
So as Commissioner Hollingsworth indicated, what made the change in 2022? We were minding our own business. Forever, you dug a hole on class 3 side of things while you guys had a little bit extra time. Really, they were there anyway. You didn't have a dollar in the construction of class 3 back in the old days, right? On the class 1 side of things, you had 2 liners, lead check detection, lead check collection. That's why it was millions of dollars. Class 3, in reality, you didn't really see a hard number that cost you. You did it in-house. You dug a hole, did the bulldozer, pushed it in. I literally got an email out of nowhere. It says, hey, by the way, as of a certain date, you're going to treat class 3 exactly like class 1, with exception of only 1 liner. So 1 liner, lead check detection, lead check collection, 2 foot of sand. So now you got 2 sales with exception of 1 liner. It's about $1 million difference is all it is. That just come out of nowhere. That's where Commissioner Hollingsworth, I think, said a while ago, you don't see those type of things coming. They just send you an email. The other side of it, what I refer to the fracking, in the 90s, borings was done. Everything was good to go. The geologists of the world will tell you something changed under the earth. Some rules got more strict. So all of a sudden, hey guys, by the way, you need to grout all this land. Okay, what does that mean? Well, $2 million. And you cannot, the reason I took the $2 million deal, I was going for a full 25 acres until the grouting come in. So now I had to reduce this. That's why in 2037, I got to expand again. Okay. So when I say a moving target, you're playing by somebody else's rules. So I said all that to kind of conclude on my side of things. I think it was a very productive meeting. I think it's an open idea that anybody could have. But we don't want to tell Swanee County or anybody else, okay, here's our business model. And here's what we're, even if the board decides it's a good idea to accept it, that's one side. But when you say, well, how much is that per ton or how much is it volumetric? I don't know. You would be shooting in the dark to say that because we're trying to figure it out on our side. Am I making sense?
Clear?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, any other questions relevant to that? Okay. All right. I went to staff update on anything, David?
Just trying to remind the general public that we are redoing the LDRs and the comp plans, and they're seeking public input. If you go to our webpage, there's there may even be one out here in the lobby where you can scan it and it'll send you to the survey. They're really looking for as much input from the public as possible on how we need to update our LDRs. Our LDRs haven't been changed significantly since we adopted them, and they just need to be updated.
Chairman, I have one other thing I'd like to.
Yes, sir, Mr. Ford.
So I got a call today. Everybody knows about the septic tank. Talking about doing all these aerobics and making, if you do a repair, you have to do aerobic. So basically that was challenged and all that went away today.
And that was
Really?
that was today.
That was today. Actually, this afternoon about 3 o'clock.
No kidding.
I was coming
Now-
in here to tell people the bad news, and then all of a sudden,
Now, it might come back, and it probably is going to come back. We don't know when, but message I got there. Could be months, could be years. They don't know.
Oh, wow.
You know,
That's a
But
big
it was
deal.
challenged. It was challenged in court.
Commissioner, where's that?
You know-
What's pushing that?
the state, but let me, listen, same people push
Them
everything.
dang vape pills.
Yeah.
The Springs Protection Act.
Yeah.
is what's pushing.
Oh, is that
But,
what it-
but what I'm
It's
saying
based
is,
on the BMP.
is this morning, I got a call from a septic tank man down in Levy County. And he said, Robbie, it's coming. On Friday, he said he's got however many permits to do on a regular septic tank. He said on Friday, these people that think they're getting that might have a problem with their septic tank that hadn't already called me and got their permits, it's gonna cost them $10,000 to put a brand new septic system in. That's unmanageable. It's unmanageable today, and it's unmanageable 20 years from now to have, when if you're grandma and you got a house you've been in for 50 years and you got a septic tank, it's working fine, everything's fine for 20 years, and then all of a sudden it goes bad, and you go, oh, I'm gonna replace my drain field. Potentially, this law or this act or whatever, whoever's put this into, there will come a day where if you go to fix that, no matter where you are, you're gonna have to put a robot system. So you go from $4,000, what is it, 4,000 now? About $4,000 for a septic, a drain field, to $10,000 or $12,000, and maintenance costs and everything else. So I know I've got two of them. They're no fun to own, really. But I think Rocky put them in, didn't you, Rocky? But it's really something that I can't believe people aren't up in arms and stomping up there on the front steps of the Capitol. They need to be, because you're talking about, we're already in a time where $10,000, hard thing to come up with a surprise. And what I think it's going to do, it's going to make criminals of most people, because, and I understand completely, and I might be one of them. If my septic tank messes up, I might be able to shovel fixing it or whatever I got to do to keep from paying 10. I mean, this is just common sense, y'all, and they may put me in jail for doing it, but to come up with $10,000 is a big deal.
Commissioner, as recently as the last few years down in Ellisville, we had to bring a cesspool offline. You had commercial businesses that were just dumping in a hole.
Yeah.
As recently as just a few years ago.
I'm telling you, I know people in my district that when they go to get, if this happens, and this is a future thing, but the septic tank guys down there in Levy County, and even the state representatives, some of those guys down in that area said it's coming. So it's just going to make criminals of people. You're not going to see many permits getting filled. We'll be able to get rid of somebody down there at the permit section, because they're not going to come and get permits. I mean, they're going to fix their drain fields and not tell anybody. I mean, y'all laughing, but it's a fact. So, and I don't know who in here has a drain field, but y'all probably going, yeah, that's right. You know, but it's just it's almost unmanageable. It's a law that's going to hurt a lot of people.
Well, I can almost assure you, whenever they didn't debate it because it was probably done behind closed doors at their level, but they didn't reach out to the Florida Septic Tank Association to get their input, did they? I guarantee you they didn't do that. So, you know, and thank God somebody protested it with a little bit of weight to kind of wheels on, brakes on.
Excuse me. You know, back in the day when we had the farmer strike, y'all remember the farmer strike?
Very well.
They drove tractors up there on the front steps of the Capitol.
Yep.
I think we need some poop trucks.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, line it up
Maybe
with
spin
dump
them a little
trucks.
bit. You know,
Honey wagons.
Well,
Honey
I'm
wagons.
gonna go ahead and tell you, that is not the only issue we have right now.
Mhm.
Another major issue we have is we have nowhere to dump.
That's right. That's right.
We have nowhere to dump it, really. I mean, we got a few places, but it can't handle it. It can't handle all this heavy waste that we're dumping.
Yep.
And that's a major problem too. And it's a major problem I thought we had addressed when we built that plant at the Mega Industrial Park, but
Can't.
I don't think we have. So, yeah.
Commissioner, I'm glad you said that, because, you know, I'm not going to mention name, but we theoretically got one spot to dump right here within the Tri-County area, correct? So with that being said, I know what we talked about before, David, relevant to our system that we put in, our sewage plant we put in out here. And I know it's got to take place, and for whatever reason, what is the future plan for 26 to go forth and see if it can be implemented at that plant? Where's that discussion at with our engineers or what?
The engineers are looking at it. The city engineers are looking at it. The plant can handle everything but the solids. You're gonna have to build some type of a receiving station that would take out the solids and dewater the solids, do all that sort of thing. And then the other issue is flow. You know, as long as it has low flow, there's only so much you're gonna be able to take. So you've got to remove all the solids and dewater the solids, and you've got to get more flow.
It ain't gonna happen.
It just, it
Let's
just.
face it, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's too hard to figure.
Well, if the discussion on my part takes place in the future about any sewage plant in Columbia County in the future, that must be at the top of the list.
It was when we planned this one.
I know, I agree with you.
Well,
Yeah.
and I want to say one more thing. David, I want us, whoever can do this, and I'll stay up with it, and I'm sure Rocky will stay up with it. But before this happens, I would like to know if they're going to start doing that the repair part, where they're going to say, when you repair, we really need to give the people of Columbia County a heads up as quickly and as efficiently as we can, because I mean, I can see people that might be holding off, and I don't want to cost people all that.
Well,
I want them.
Robbie, I talked to the health department today and I asked them
Yeah, you
if
did.
they would have somebody here at our next meeting and we would put on the agenda to bring us up to speed on what exactly is going on and let everybody hear it from them. So,
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
and I'll be honest with you, talking to them today, they're kind of in the dark as much as
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are. They knew about it at 3:15 this afternoon or something like that. So,
Well,
you know,
Sal did a good job of
and it's supposed to go into effect tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah.
People were calling set times today and they're like, we can't do a permit about it. You know, it's a bad deal, y'all.
It's sure preemption.
And it's like the state, you know, everything was gonna go over to the state, but now that's been put off another year.
So changing the tune just a little bit. So apparently we have a trampoline park coming. I don't know if maybe I wasn't proactive enough, but I don't know anything about that. Y'all know about that?
I don't know. I need to find out.
How do we get stuff in town and
Who
we don't know
told
anything
everybody?
about it? I mean, that seems like we get stuff come up and it's a great thing. Our youth needs it. I'm not upset about it by any means. I just would love to know about it before.
It didn't get approved through the EDAM.
So
Okay.
it was on the agenda for the Economic Development Board to convey that property off of Real Terrace to this private company to build on. And the Economic Development Board this morning did not agree to give that property to that
And
investor. But at the end of the day, it would have had to come before this board anyway to approve
Yeah.
that. Because the Economic Development Board is just a advisory board for us.
Right.
And Commissioner Farnell, what typically would happen with an economic development project like that, it's not unusual, just so you feel better, it's not terribly unusual for you not to find out about it until it's a little bit way down the road. I do try to encourage, if it's going to affect somebody's district or something like that for economic development, to reach out to whoever the commissioner is in that district, make sure they're aware. I think it just hit the paper the way it did. I found out about the same time you did, basically.
Yeah, I saw it in the paper and I was like, wow, that's
So, but that's really because they do a lot of things in confidence. And, you know, I think did these people have confidentiality, Commissioner
Yes.
Murphy? I feel like they did. Yes.
I have no idea.
They had.
Oh, I thought you would.
But
Well,
I-
who's on the economic development board? Is it
First
Rob-
I heard
Rob?
of it was a
Okay.
newspaper.
But I will tell you, I do hope we do get it. I think it would be great for the kids and I'm all for it. But I think you open up a can of worms, it's gonna be hard to put the lid back on if you start giving away property to
Yeah.
commercial establishments.
For the jobs that they'd offered and the money that it just, you'd have to give $500,000 property to everybody that came into business.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's taxpayers' property. It's not ours. The taxpayer paid for that.
The county has historically required some combination of jobs creation and tax base enhancement and improvement.
Well,
And
if
that
it was
usually means a lot of equipment, a lot of infrastructure that they put in.
If it was a
So-
manufacturing plant, it was gonna
Oh, yeah.
create
Yeah.
some high 50, 60, 70, 100 high paying jobs.
Yep.
And we've done that in the past.
That's right.
We do it all the time.
But we've
Do it all the
never, as far as my knowledge, I don't think we've ever give property to a commercial investment.
We have not.
Well, I think Joel just hit the nail on the head. Irregardless of whose district it lays in or whatever, just the upfront. And I think with the investment of a PIO officer or whatever the title is going to be, from here on out, there's going to be a vetting you know, it goes to this person, and the RPIO is gonna be the person talking to the newspaper. And that's the reason why I think we all voted on this when we just developed this position to where so that goes through the vetting, accurate information in, because if we, PIO officer, if we give him bad information, he's gonna give out bad information, but it takes the burden off of these department heads to get out there and because, we've all started out here with a speech before and we say something opposite, but my point is that I think after the lesson I got day before yesterday, that stopped, so, that's why we're hiring PIO officer to, take us down into the other world, part of the world, the future, if you want to say.
Well, when Longhorn come to town, they didn't ask us to buy a piece of property.
That's right. Well, Kevin, it cost me $2 because when I got scalded at 7:15, I had to go to the store and buy me a paper because I didn't know what the heck he was talking about.
I read it on my phone.
Somebody,
I read it online
somebody
this
that
morning
needs
at work.
economic development owes me $2.
Yeah. I know that when this thing got turned down, Dale Williams was really looking forward to getting on that trampoline up there. And I was really looking forward to watching him. Thank you.
All right, good deal. A lot of good information, at this point. Nothing else? Everybody good?
Yeah, we're good.
Motion to adjourn.